Okay guys, I'm going to make you a video to help you with animated titles. We're going to do lower third titles that you'd see in a documentary. This is the lab that we did in class. So in order to first make the graphics, you need to be in Illustrator, which I've sort of already opened here. We're going to do a new project, and we can just call it titles to keep it simple and easy. We're going to do a film or a video and film preset, and then we're working in 720, so I'm going to do HDTV 720. That all looks good, so I'm just going to hit OK, and then we have our artboard, which is 720, and it has this title safe kind of grid here that's helpful for us when working in video because we want to stick within the title safe area. And so the first thing I'm going to do is make a rectangle that's going to be sort of the backdrop for the title. So I'm going to hit on a rectangle tool. It's really important that we actually, before I get started, I'll create the layers. We're going to have 3 layers of graphics, and we're going to bring these layers into After Effects to animate. So the first layer is going to be our rectangle. The second layer can be our text. And the third layer, if I can click on that, will be our logo. All right, so I'm just going to, in order to work on these layers, you just have to make sure they're highlighted like that, and then you can begin to add things to this layer. So I'm going to add a rectangle, so I just clicked on the rectangle tool up here. I'm going to make sure it kind of goes off the artboard, and maybe make it about that big, kind of. And I'm not really into the white, so you can pick any color you want, and you can change opacity and these sorts of things. I'm going to do a gradient, and the gradients are over here. This is a black gradient. There's also sort of a white gradient there if you wanted that, but I'm going to go with a black gradient. Lovely. And then if you kind of want to adjust that gradient a bit, you can turn on the gradient tool, and that will allow you to sort of adjust that. Whoa. A little bit. All right. And I am just turned off that gradient tool. I'm gonna actually, I think, make that a bit more transparent also. So I'm gonna bring that down to like 75%, 74%, and that looks nice. I'm gonna also curve the edges, and of course this is just all subjective. It's whatever look you're going for. Right now I think I have an outline which I'm not into, so I'm just going to turn that off. And again, this is up here, you change the color, you can add an outline. There's lots of kind of pull down things that you can manipulate to make your background look different. Okay, so now we're going to add the text. We're going to go to the text layer. And I'm just going to close out my layers there and grab the text tool over here. It's the T, and make a nice text box that stays within title safe area. And I am going to change my font a little bit. So I'm going to maybe try it at 36. That might be a little bit big. 24 maybe. Regular is great. I'm going to do Helvetica, perhaps, something simple. I like nice blocky letters. So, and then we write in what it is that we want in our titles. And I'm looking at that and I'm thinking that black is not quite right, so I might pick a sort of nice light gray color. It's kind of nice. I'm also feeling a bit like those letters are a bit squished together. So I'm just gonna make that text box bigger, centered again. I'm just gonna highlight this text. And if I hit paragraph, you can sort of manipulate the text like you would in Word. I'm going to add some space between the first and second line of text. And I think that probably needs recentering. Maybe. Oh, I somehow made that black again. I didn't notice. So this is all preference. You just sort of do whatever you want to do, whatever's right for your film. I'm going to also add an effect to this, and again, there's all kinds of effects you can add. I'm going to add a drop shadow. Okay, makes it kind of pop out from the background a little bit. I'm also thinking it might look good in bold, maybe. I like that. Now I'm going to add a line to separate these two, and I'm keeping it on the same layer as my text. It's going to be sort of one graphic. I like that. I might also add a drop shadow to that to make that pop. And the next thing I'm going to do is add my graphic. And I have my graphic on my desktop just for ease. Just gonna grab it. Oh, sorry, actually, I need to switch layers, sorry. So up to our logo layer, and then grab our image and just place it on our layer. I think that looks great. All right, and there's our logo. I wonder if I want to drop shadow that. That's kind of cool. I'm into that drop shadow. All right. So I'm just going to save this project at the desktop. Just make sure it's there and easy to grab later. And I'm going to get out of Illustrator, and now I'm going to bring these into After Effects. So I'm going to just open up After Effects. Just ignore all the warnings that are distinct to my system. I'm just going to do a save as on there and save this to the desktop. Animated titles. And you have a video that teaches you how to bring your Avid project into After Effects. Is that something you want to do if you wanted to work with those individual clips? I'm just going to imagine we exported a video. And so, where is the video that I want? So I'm just going to bring that video in. Very often when you're doing titles like this, it might be the last step. So this would sort of be your sort of finished video, post color correct, adding titles and graphics and things to it, or maybe maybe if you did pre-color correct, you might want the project because of course you want to color correct in a project. But in this case, let's imagine that we're post-color correct. We've got everything. It's sort of our master video file. I'm not sure I would marry to sound before I went to After Effects. I might sort of add titles and then marry it to sound later because I'm not really sure how After Effects handles sound, whether it handles sound very well. I know sort of sound in After Effects is somewhat new, so I sort of maybe wouldn't trust it to work with my sound. So from that video, I'm going to create a composition. And so I right click on it, new composition from selection, and that's going to give me a composition that's sort of perfectly matched to my video. I'm just going to find the exact frame where this starts. Of course, if you're working with individual clips, you'd know exactly where the cut was, but we're not. Because you could create markers in another software. Right there. Just gonna create a marker there, just so I know when I come in and out of that clip. And in order to make this sort of smaller, bigger and smaller, I use this scale here. You can also press the plus and minus to do that. And I press shift and then a number to create a marker, and then it'll create a specifically numbered marker. Alright, and so that's when my titles are going to come in and out. I have a feeling if I do this, that would just sort of help me create in and out points for that titles. I might be imagining that. Anyway, let's give it a go. So then we're going to go to File, Import to import our graphics. We just click on File, and we want our Illustrator project that we call Titles. We're going to not bring in as footage because that will smush all the layers. We're going to bring in as composition retain layer size. And that means each layer has a unique size versus each layer being on 720 sort of transparency, and that's helpful when animating those layers, especially if you want to do rotations and things. They kind of tend to get a bit weird when they're on the 720 layer size. It means they sometimes like end up a bit jumbled up, and you have to fix them. But I personally find that helpful. So now we've got those layers, we can add them. Really hoping that, oh no, that didn't do what I thought it might do. I thought it might just add them only in this area, but no. But we have our markers, so that's going to make it somewhat easy to chop them down. So if we have them all highlighted like that, that allows us to then work with them all at once. Just gonna make sure that's hitting that last frame. How are we doing over here? One more. And right now the layers are at the bottom, so we can't see them because the video is covering them. So we're gonna move them to sit above the video here. And then we should be able to see them. Lovely. Yeah, they're a bit jumbled up. So I'm just going to reposition them. Actually, I'm going to put on my title safe. So right here on this, there's this sort of title safe grid. I'll just do that again. That's off, and then title safe on to show you. And then I'm going to sort of start to reposition my graphics. And they also need kind of reordering. Put the text and the logo on top of the rectangle. Right, not bad. Okay, so this is sort of how we want our layers to end up, but we're going to animate them. There's going to be a transition to bring them in on screen. So that's what we're going to start doing now. The animation will obviously start at the one position, and I think maybe I want it to end right around there. So I'm just going to create a third marker. And in order to manipulate these layers, we just use this kind of triangle and roll down the transform functions, and then we can adjust various attributes of that particular object on that particular layer. So I'm going to start with the text, and I'm going to have my text fade up. So at our final position, where it is now, it's going to be 100% opacity. So that's, we can see that text 100%. It's not transparent at all. So I'm going to put a keyframe there because that's where I want it to be 100%. But I'm going to have it fade up from its first position. And in that first position, it's going to be 0%. So I'm just going to, I basically click on it and then, whoa, see these floated over here and see this little pointy with these arrows either side. You can sort of adjust the opacity there. You can also just type in the number, type in 0. And then
respond to our will.
It should fade up.
It respond to.
Didn't it fade up? All right, try that one more time. So our third position, we're on text layer. Just gonna make sure, yeah, that's the right layer. So I'm hitting opacity at 100%. And then when I move to the first layer, I'm gonna knock that opacity down to 0. There's just me typing it. And then there we go. So I'm not sure what I did.
Making it respond to.
So there we can see
Making it respond to.
All right. So that's what we want to do to transition our titles in. Our rectangle, I'm going to have that shift positions for our animation. So again, at position marker number 3 here, it's going to be where it is now. So I'm going to click a keyframe at the marker 3, and that's sort of our final position. But to start the transition, we're going to start that rectangle off frame. I'm just going to click on it. I'm going to hold shift, and that allows me to retain the horizontal axis, or sorry, the vertical axis, and just move the horizontal axis. So sort of play with one axis at a time. And now you
making
can
it
see
respond to our.
that slides in. The next animation I'm going to do is on the logo. So I'm rolling down. Oh, that's a rectangle. Rolling down that logo, rolling down transform. Obviously third position looks good there. So I'm going to fly that in from beneath the image. So I'm going to hit a keyframe on the final position there on 3. I'm going to go to marker 1. I'm going to click on it, hold shift just like we did last time, and I'm going to move the horizontal axis this time.
Respond to our will.
Pops up like that.
Respond to our will with our bare hand.
But maybe I sort of look at that and think that's kind of boring. I feel like I can do much more with that lovely circular logo. So maybe I'll rotate it as it flies up. So we're going to have the rotation as it is in the final position. So we're going to hit a keyframe just like we did every other time. And we're going to go over to the first position. And then I'm going to have that rotate twice on its way up. I'm going to hit enter, and that's going to create another keyframe.
Respond to our will.
Now we can see that logo flying. It's a bit cheesy, but
Making it respond to our will.
It's all about what you think
Making it
looks good.
respond to our will.
And then if you, for example, decide that
It
the
respond
timing's
to
off,
our-
like I feel like maybe that rectangle should fly in a little faster, you can manipulate the keyframes, and you do that. Whoa. Sorry guys, hit the wrong button. And you can do that by moving that keyframe over. So if I wanted that to come in, be sort of on frame earlier, I would move the keyframe just like so. Meaning
Respond to our
that sort of flies in faster if that's something you wanted, or you wanted the text to.
respond to our
It just sort of changes the speed and the duration of the animation.
respond to our will.
And you can kind of play around with that to get the timing just exactly
Respond
where you
to our
want it.
will.
Maybe I think it's nice to sort of see it fly in. We can make it very fast so it sort of flies in
Respond to our
before the text comes up. And maybe I want the text to come up a little slower.
respond to
There.
our
It's kind of nice. And you just kind of can play around with those keyframes and time your animation
to our will.
nicely. And then you can do an export.
Respond to
final
our
video. Always best to export through Media Composer.
respond to our
Or you
will
can
with our bare
export out
hands.
of, After Effects. But yeah, Media Composer's got a lot more options, and you would do that by hitting your composition, which, it's our hot glass composition. Hitting File, Export, Add to Media Composer, and then that'll take a bit of time, but it should open up. Are you opening up? Just a little slow. All right. And then you can add any sort of presets you want, maybe many presets. So if I wanted a QuickTime movie, we can match the source. We can do an H.264, many sort of options for H.264. We can do the Avid codecs. HDV. Maybe I don't have. I'm thinking maybe I don't have ProRes codecs on this laptop, but who knows? And so you can have multiple. You could be sending out sort of multiple versions of your project, which I often end up doing. So once you're in here, if you double click here, you can start to manipulate. This is uncompressed. It's not letting me manipulate. Interesting. If I turn off match source. Oh, there. If I turn off match source. Okay, there's our ProReses. So you want to do a ProRes HQ. And then you can sort of manipulate any of the specs down here, the frame rate, if there was some reason you needed to do that. Quite easily. And then we just hit OK. And then play. And then that sort of renders out our various options. I'm probably not going to watch this all the way through, but you get the picture. Oh, it failed. I'm not really sure why it failed. But you get the picture. It would render those out. That's strange. I wonder why it failed. Oh, maybe because I didn't send it to the right place. Oh, okay. I have it going to a drive that's not attached. So to change the location, oh no, now that it's failed, it doesn't want to work at all. So I'm just going to put that preset back on. So I would change the location here because I've got it set up to go to a drive that's not plugged in. Just going to change it to the desktop and then hit play, and then it sort of exports. So that's going really quickly. All right, and then there's our MOV that we just created.
Respond to our will with our bare hands. Respond to our will with our bare hands.
We had an in and out point on the timeline. So
Respond to our will with our bare hands. Respond to our will with our bare hands.
All right. Hopefully that's helpful. Take care. Bye.